Welcome to MadRapp Talks. This is our inaugural podcast, blogcast, however you want to say it. And we're here today with Dr. Shannon Grimsley, Superintendent of Schools for Rappahannock County. When we decided to go into this venture, we decided we needed a guinea pig. And so we asked, and obviously Dr. Grimsley agreed to do so. Why don't you, since we cover 3 counties, Madison, Greene, and Rappahannock now, why don't you tell us a little bit of an overview of the school system heading into the 22-23 school year?
Okay, so heading into this school year, we are beginning the first year of our comprehensive plan on the road to remarkable. So we are not only looking to be a great school system, but a remarkable one. And that takes everybody working together to achieve some really optimistic goals, and some ambitious ones at that. We really, truly hope to reach pre-pandemic levels in student achievement, closing achievement gaps, and really supporting students that have some challenging collateral damage left over from the pandemic. So we have a lot of support systems in place. We're looking to have about 765 students enrolled. We have 2 schools, one pre-K to 7, one 8 through 12. The elementary school, the pre-K through 7, and then high school 8 through 12. We have some wonderful new additions to our staff. At this point in time, we are a fully staffed school, which I know a lot of school systems in the Commonwealth cannot say that, even the nation. So we feel very blessed to be going into this year strong with a fully staffed school.
Talking about your staff, you got 17 new staff. 12 of them are teachers. The other 5 are in support roles, as I could gather. Is that normal turnaround, 12 teachers in 1 year?
No, that's a higher number than most years, higher turnover. We had 3 retirements at the elementary school last year, and then others that made some career choices, changes that made a lot of sense, especially after teaching a couple of years in a pandemic educational landscape. That's a difficult thing, so people wanted to make some changes. We understand that, but overall we were a little bit concerned with those vacancies because that is a higher number for us, but we were super pleased at the recruiting efforts of our team. The principals reached out and went to some career fairs and called universities, and they got their schools fully staffed, so they did a great job.
What I believe, at least what I've seen, that you, as far as administrative staff, is still in place from last year.
Yes.
And that's got to make you feel good.
Yes, it does. I trust my team implicitly, and I'm so glad they stuck it out and they're still with me. Consistency in administration is vital to the success of a school division, so I'm very pleased that we have the same team leading the charge, so that's good.
But I anticipate in the next year or 2, 3 years you could have some turnover in administration?
It's always possible. I can't say that for sure, but to that anticipation of that possibility, we are doing some more cross-training in this office and being sure that we understand the roles and responsibilities that each of us have, and just cross-training so that we can handle each other's roles if needed. And we did some of that during COVID anyway, because we had some longer periods of quarantine times where we did need to pick up for each other. So we just kind of kept with that mentality and continue on.
Let's talk a little bit about budgets and budget processes. Last couple of years you've actually turned money back over to the county. Is that going to happen this year? Is it too soon to tell? Or?
We are closing out our accounts as we speak. We still have some invoices from June to close out. And then, of course, you know, the governor's caboose budget came in finally a little bit later than we had hoped. But so we're trying to square away all those accounts. I anticipate there will be some, but probably not in the realm of a large sum, because we're also holding off on some reimbursements to watch to extend our ESSER 3 funding a little bit further. And that helps us support everyone, the county included, especially with some of the funds we're turning over for broadband and then the supports that we need for the students. So we're trying to stretch those federal dollars as much as possible, and doing everything we can to avoid any type of fiscal cliff when those funds run out.
Speaking of broadband, the hot spots around the county, you got that for another year?
Yes, yes. So we'll keep those going. We have some specialized supports for students to still access materials online. We still have funding to do that this year, so that should be fine.
Rehabilitation of the classrooms and things over the summer, that progressed well. I see asphalt out here, I think, in the parking lot here. Some that got done.
Yes, we were able to condense our capital improvement plan from 5 years into 2, but we were waiting on the state budget to be approved before we pushed the button. So that did come in later than we had hoped, because there's back orders on materials and you have to get the contractors and the bidding and all of that. So we were able to, it may take a little longer than 2. We wanted 2 years, but we have done a lot more remodels of the classrooms in both schools. You'll see some nice improvements in the gym, concessions areas, locker rooms. So we're very pleased with all of that.
The academies started, this is the 3rd year, I guess, technically, 2nd year.
Right.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about the academies and how they're doing, the new fine arts that was started last spring, and just talk a little bit about those programs.
Sure. So if you remember, the whole impetus for the academies was a model to help students graduate life ready. And what that meant for Rappahannock County students was that they should graduate from here being ready to compete in a global economy. And in a rural area, that's really difficult when you have city schools that have so many resources. So in this case, in the context of what we have in our community, designing a program where students graduate with so many dual enrollment credits, so many career certifications, so many stackable credentials, hands-on experience, and then even a post-secondary promise from one of the organizations we partner with. So for example, the first one we started was the Health Science Academy, and that is in partnership with RAPC, and that gives students multiple certifications in the healthcare field, including phlebotomy, CCMA, EKG, so that will prepare them for any career in the healthcare industry that they wish. And then we started the Ag Academy, which really took off, thanks so much to Michelle Fincham, our Ag Academy coordinator extraordinaire. And we have so many students that each of her classes are busting at the seams, which is awesome to see. And they're adding certifications as we speak. I think she's up to 33 in the whole program already. And then of course our FFA chapter completely exploded. It went from 8 students to 84 within a period of 2 years, and they're competing and doing really well as too. So the Fine Arts Academy we began exploring last year with the return of our spring musical and some analysis of our performing arts. So this year that's going to continue, and we hope to have a full-bodied Fine Arts Academy model to present to the board sometime this year.
Let's compare and contrast your school system with others in the area. I would suspect that a lot of it has to do with your school board. Talk a little bit about your board and the leadership and the fact that they all work together. I'm sure that has to help.
It does, it does. No, I feel extremely blessed that we have the leadership we do. Our board members all, even though they do have such a diverse variety of opinions and belief systems and values, all come together around the table around a very common theme and what's best for children, especially Rappahannock County children. And I feel very fortunate that we have the trusting relationships that we do. that we can talk together about different things and set up what is a norm and protocol for our functioning of operations here. And that was a very important piece of what we do, but it's good discourse, and we try as best we can to stay away from controversy and keep things moving for the kids. But sometimes topics do infiltrate and people feel very strongly about them and do have a voice, and that's important too. So we just need to listen to each other and do what we know is best for kids.
What is the school system's, I guess, goal for the year? You touched on it briefly at the beginning, but explain a little bit more about that.
Sure. So in our comprehensive plan, we have 6 major priorities that are outlined, and they're all surrounding graduating life-ready students. So enhancing our content and curriculum, ensuring that students are achieving at very high levels and growing no matter where they are in their academic career. So we want to see growth no matter if students are, just regularly on track. Our gifted students, we want to see growth there. We want to see closing of any achievement gaps that we find. We want to ensure that the services we're providing our special needs students are giving them what they need to achieve, especially after the pandemic and addressing learning loss. So those are all pieces of it, and then there are other pieces of it too where we hope to continue to hire a premier workforce and build their capacity for leadership, learning, teaching and learning, and assessment, financial planning, ensuring that we can still be innovative without really hurting the taxpayers too much in this community, because our local composite index really puts them in a bind. So we've all been working together as a community for several years now on that, which has been very beneficial. So those are just some of them, but the comprehensive plan on the road to remarkable outlines all of that, and that's on our website.
And a great website you have, by the way.
Thank you.
Wish other localities had a great website like that. Family Futures.
Yes.
Since since MadRapp does cover Madison and Greene, they know very little about Family Futures other than articles that we've written over the last 2 years. Talk a little, just say what you'd like to say about Family Futures.
Oh my gosh, where do I start? Okay, so Family Futures is the nonprofit that began around an essential question, basically. And the question really was coming from parents of sophomores, juniors, preparing for the future. And we saw more and more that post-secondary training and programs and universities were being taken off the table, sometimes by the families themselves, just because it was just never in the cards. They hadn't been planning. It just wasn't in the future for their children. And we thought, okay, this conversation, we can't start this late. And even though with the academic career plans that we start in middle school, we really have to start this at the beginning of their school career and have their eye focused on the future. So we started talking about ways to do that, and Ann Yeoman, their executive director at Family Futures now, she wasn't then, we started talking about this more and more, and she talked to me about some college savings accounts programs, and we explored that further and found that there really isn't, other than the Virginia 529 program that has very strict usage for those funds, there isn't a program that does custodial accounts in this way in Virginia. So we thought about how we might be able to design a model to that end. So My Future program came out of that. And what that does is we grant each kindergartner who enrolls in the school system $100 in their own private savings account. And then throughout the year, as they meet certain objectives, including their family, we try to include the families in that, so a parent could take their child to the grocery store and let them add up the bill and see how the money is exchanged, and they get a check point and $20 deposited into their child's account. And the whole idea is to learn financial literacy, understand the importance of saving and planning for the future. And we are in our 4th year in that, so our 3rd graders were our initial kindergartners. So the Family Futures has been doing an incredible job raising funds in partnership with Headwaters, and we've gotten grants from the Path Foundation and other donors as well. So they've been doing an incredible job because this program obviously is going to grow as we get more and more grade levels. So yes, it's an excellent program. It's really paying off. They're delving into curriculum development at this point with our teachers. They did a lot of work over the summer to integrate the financial literacy concepts into the existing curriculum with the teachers so that the incentives that the kids achieve are directly tied to the concepts they need anyway, and then making that real world connection with things like Reality Store or Market Day or classroom stores, things like that. So.
And at the school, at the Board of Supervisors meeting yesterday, obviously Dr. Massey and Ann spoke to the board, and what was the figure? They said that when the third graders graduate, how much will they possibly have in their account?
By the end of it, it might be up to $1,800 if they've earned the incentives, but we're still talking about growing that even more as they get older and tying that into their academic career plan, so that if they undertook a bigger project with community partners, the community partner could then make deposits into those accounts for projects that the students undertake. So it could grow from there, but the initial seed account money and what they're putting up for the $100 incentive each year is kind of what we're looking at. So they could earn that much, and I know they have, I think he said 57,000 invested already.
Yeah, that's a number that oh,
It's
okay.
pretty awesome.
That's pretty good.
It is, and it's receiving a lot of attention, and hopefully it's a model that can be replicated in Virginia.
One thing that came out of yesterday's meeting, Ann and I also talked after the meeting, and she's going to start a twice monthly column in MadRapp on financial concerns and things like that.
Excellent.
So I think that will be a big help to us as well, so we appreciate that.
Fabulous.
Athletics. Big changes coming this fall in athletics. Why don't you announce that a little bit?
Okay, about football?
Football.
I figured you were going there. So the 8-man football is something we've been looking at for a couple of years with our numbers. Of course, safety of our students is our number one concern with any of these programs, and there's so much heart in the football program, so we knew we couldn't let it go completely. So Coach Burks and Miss Atkins really did a lot of work in investigating the possibility of joining the 8-man league, and that's the way we're going to go. So
It'll be interesting.
it will be interesting, and but those boys are playing their hearts out, and they're doing well. So
Let's talk a little bit about you talked a little bit about the numbers that this year's kindergarten class is, as of today, a little bit smaller than normal, but hopefully you'll pick that up. There's been discussions previously with dwindling numbers in the school system and things like that. What are y'all doing to build the numbers up? Can you build the numbers up to 800, 850 again?
yeah, well, a lot of that is a community issue as well. It's not just a school issue, but the best we can do in our sandbox is just make the best education possible. So those are the things we're trying to do. Our numbers did stabilize pretty well. We didn't see the same percentage drop over the last few years that we might anticipate otherwise. A lot of that I think attributed to staying open during COVID. We did see an increase in student population that way. And still to this point, our ADM looks like it will stabilize. Increasing will depend on, families living here. And of course we did see a huge increase in the numbers in our daycare center. So in that population, so the birth to 3 age group is very, very high. So I anticipate we'll have some increasing numbers there.
Any last thoughts?
Last thoughts? No, I just appreciate the opportunity to talk to you and share some of the things that's going on in our school system. We're very proud, and we are on the road to remarkable.